All right, well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the 5 Hours of Power 8 live results show. This year we had the big challenge of take this giant coaster, Son of Beast, turn it into an RMC coaster, whatever that means to you. And to help us determine how well we did with turning it into an RMC coaster, we actually were thrilled that we were able to get people from RMC to help us out with the judging. It was so cool. In fact, we have one of them with us today. We have on with us Bailey, who is part of the social media team and works for RMC. Bailey, welcome to the 5 Hours of Power live results show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Excited to see everything.
We're excited too. And again, big
Chat
thank
it
you
live.
so much for joining us and being part of the competition this year. It was really amazing to have yourself and engineers and other people at RMC participate and evaluate the finished results and the finished coasters. It was really an amazing treat to have that kind of feedback, and I can't wait to share with everybody how everything turned out.
Yeah, it's good. Everything was literally every single entry was really, really cool. So,
Very cool. Well, let's not dilly-dally any further. We're going to dive right into it with our first coaster we're going to show. We're going to show 6 coasters today. We'll show our top 5 and one honorable mention. The honorable mention that we're going to show is it did not make the top 5. In fact, it came in 7th place, but we are bringing it up because of our 4 categories: realism, supports, fun, and how well we recreated the RMC feel. This coaster got the highest score for fun. And the reward for honorable mention goes to Son of Beast Steel, built by Jared Walker. So we're loading that now. These will take a bit of time to get loaded, of course, because they're giant wooden coasters. But congratulations to Jared Walker for Son of Beast Steel. Tell us about it, Bailey.
good. I'm pulling up all the scores now to see what we said about it. Give me just a second
After you go
here.
through 29 of these, it is hard to remember what they all were like.
I know, yeah.
Especially when in some of our past contests there was more rule you're open to rule interpretation, so you can kind of come up with a number of different types of coasters. This year is 29 of the exact same coaster trying to do very similar things, so
hmm
they do
hmm
blend together after a while without looking at your notes.
Okay, let's see here. I'm a beast of steel.
And we are loaded, so we're going to take a
All
we'll be
right.
taking notes on these as we go along.
Okay. Try to see if I can see the POV as we go. Um, we liked this one a lot. I personally really liked the color scheme of the trains. Um, over twisted roll element, we liked. I can tell who made each of these comments. I really like the drop. Everybody across the board, we really liked the drop and the pull out at the bottom. It looking at it, it was a little more positive than we like to go. Like it was a really, really tight pull out, and we try to kind of shy away from a lot of excessive positives.
Nice. Well, it was really cool.
Another thing that we really liked um, was how it jumped around a little bit. I believe follow foundation locations, but not the path, same path as the original. Yeah. So on our, on our older rides, we would kind of stick to the ride layout that we were given, and as we've kind of kept doing reprofiles and figuring out what we can and can't do, we've started jumping around a little more, and so that's kind of allowed us to be more creative. And so one of the things we really liked about this one was one, that stall right there. And then two, it stayed on the same foundation path, but it jumped a couple times, and that was really cool.
Yeah, we've seen that. Of course, our coaster fans have seen that happening more and more. I live in LA area, so I've been on Twisted Colossus quite a bit, and knowing Colossus's path quite well, I can see the areas where it changes direction. The same thing with Joker up north at Discovery Kingdom. Same thing where it's following the same path for a while, but then has to jump over to different areas.
hmm We also really, everyone across the board really liked the non-inverting loop.
Is that something that you think could be engineered by RMC, even if it's would be challenging to do?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of fun stuff up our sleeves at the moment. No one was sure kind of how business was going to be, after the past couple of years, but we're happy to have a lot of things come in and just very, very thankful that, everyone still likes roller coasters, but we'll do anything. We would probably do, I don't want to promise anything, but we would probably do a vertical loop if it came up, you know.
Oh, nice. So pointing out a couple of things on this particular entry, we see one of the main problems that was highlighted. For everybody wondering, we did send all of the entries through to RMC to get looked at, although I did do a review to find any problems with the ride of some sort or another. This one did have a problem inside of the non-inverting loop. The track is twisting a bit too tight, and
Yeah.
the rails will hit the running boards on the side of the coaster train. So, and then of course there is a problem where there's multiple trains on a block detected. That happens over here. And the main problem is that the transfer track brakes were not set with a strong enough force. I looked at this a little bit earlier. So you had that problem where they weren't set with enough force, and the final brakes were not set with enough force either. So the incoming train does not stop, and it overruns the block. And when that happens, the ride will set up and it will stop moving until the issue is resolved manually or the coaster is reset. So this is as far as it will go, and it'll just basically stay here. Uh, at this point. So that's kind of a misconfiguration issue that I did highlight as one of the errors. But in the ones that we're going to show today, that was the only one that had a serious error like that and had what we felt was too tight of a twist on the track here, which I'm going to see if I can. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show that because there's the block brake. No, actually, I'll be able to show it. If we're looking there. But yeah, diving into a spiral like that is really cool, though I'm remembering I-305 and the insanely strong G-forces that happen at the bottom of that drop. So that's probably what you're talking about with too tight forces.
Yeah, we tend to shy away from really tight positives. Not that they're not fun. It's just not really our RMC style as much right now. We prefer to do, lots of airtime.
No arguments here. Well, we'll certainly be happy with all kinds of crazy ways that you dream up to fling people out of their seats. So is that going to continue? Nope, it's stopping there, yeah, because the final brakes are occupied. But yeah, that was it. So congratulations, Jared, for becoming an honorable mention. Not in the top 5, you got 7th place overall, but really well done. Impressed a lot of people, and I think if we had resolved a couple of those errors, then could certainly well have made it. Something else to point out when it comes to the scores, it was a really tight range overall. Son of Beast Steel came in. Its final score was 30.4. The top score is 33.4. So having just a 3-point spread between the top 7 is really intense. It was a very close round there. So congratulations, Jared. It's certainly worth being mentioned. And like I said, you did get the highest score overall for the fun category. Everybody felt your ride was the most fun. So good job there. And now to go ahead and reveal the 5th place winner here, we have Beastie by Grenny. Just a little note, all of the fun variations of Beast that were chosen as titles, no one overlapped each other, which was great, but it's fun to see all of the variations of inserting Beast and then something of Beast into the titles here. So it was a good time. Just reviewing and seeing how creative everybody came up with their names. So, congratulations, 5th place, Beastie by Grenny. And this also, to give a little highlight in the scores, this coaster had the top score for realism, and the RMC judges felt that this was the most RMC of any of the coasters submitted and got the highest RMC score. So we're going to wait for these
I
to
remember
load.
that was my biggest thing about this one. Yeah, everyone commented across the board on how much this flows like, we intend our rides to actually feel. Um, Personal favorites, very smooth transitions. Yeah, I don't know. Across the board, we really liked. Once they started getting really good, we were just like, wow, this is insane. The one thing outside of the ride experience and everything, the supports weren't always there. There was a lot of unsupported batters that like terminated above the ride envelope. On the return run specifically, we noticed that. And I know that's crazy because we only had 5 hours and
Mm-hmm.
it like auto generates and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's the auto generating and being a little too close to them or not close enough to the track so that the batter would go all the way down and give you a small tunnel gap in there. The auto
Exactly.
support
Yeah.
generator it will remove collisions as best it can determine. But when you're in that area where you're not quite close enough to be perfectly aligned with the main structure, you end up with those floating batters.
Yeah, it was good because we were like trying to look and see like for the support stuff, and that was the only thing we could really look at, I guess, was the where batters were terminating, and there wasn't anything added further down to kind of help. Because I do a lot of that. I work in the CAD side with um, actually laying out all of our vents and all that stuff as well. That's my like actual job,
Oh, wow.
and so it's a lot of you know figuring out where our ledgers are going to go, and where are we going to terminate, where are new footings versus existing footings, like how are we going to support around this ride envelope. So it was interesting to see where things were terminating and stuff like that.
Yeah, most people, especially in 5 hours, they're going to be relying on the auto support generator heavily,
Yeah,
and
understandably.
and we did have a lot of input from you guys early on. Jake sent over some amazing drawings that of the general philosophy of how roles are supported with RMC supports, and that led us to put
Did he
together
really?
what. Yep, he did, and that's what put together. That's what we have going on right now. So as the track banks and rolls all the way up to upside down and back again, the patterns that the support generator comes up with were designed by you guys.
Oh, the ledgers. Okay, that's why there's the box ledgers. I was wondering. I was like, does everybody know how we do that? Like watching, because sometimes when I'm doing it, I'm like looking up POVs of older rides because I've only been here for 8 months, and so I'm like looking, seeing how did we do it before? We did a similar element. It's so funny. Maybe I should ask Jake.
Exactly, but it's cool. It does handle a lot. Where it struggles a little bit is when you start getting really steep, like when you're doing a roll down like that, which I imagine you have a hard time with too in real life.
Yeah, yeah.
So anytime you get close to vertical, and this is for everybody watching, when you get close to vertical when you're dealing with the math involved, it starts getting really strange. So this one very well done. Everybody again, this was the one that they felt the most like an RMC. And is that from the way that it was twisting and that it was having just the right amount of kick on the airtime for all the hills?
Yeah, I don't know, it flows really, really well. Like this ride, it just element to element, it gives you just enough time to breathe, but not enough time to, calm down for the ride experience. It's never slow, and it has lots of fun RMC-ish elements, and it always is throwing in, some airtime wherever it can. And it keeps speed really well too, which is the other thing. Like that right there, everyone loved that like roll down off that hill.
Nice. Yeah, then throwing
But
in outward bank things and keeping people
yeah,
off guard.
yeah, it just keeps going, 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 boom, boom, boom. We really liked it.
And I do like it. To your point, it does maintain speed. It came into the final breaks with a lot of energy and momentum.
Mm-hmm.
One of the challenges with Son of Beast is that people felt the need to try and follow it exactly as much as possible, and it's such a long ride that's really too long. The better call was really to shorten it somehow, and to keep
Yeah.
your coaster more action packed. We run into this problem with the roundups as people put together videos and they want to show the front seat view, the back seat view, the sideways view, the trailing around it, walking through the queue, and no, it's too much. Less is more. And when it comes to the coaster, how do you keep it from being dull? Which it's hard to think of a coaster as being dull, but you really got to just keep things changing as
Mm-hmm.
frequently as possible. What I've
We also, oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, we liked the stall instead of the loop. That was another thing I forgot to mention.
Yeah, that was a popular thing, and it's a good way to honor what was there, I think. So rather than
Yeah,
having the loop, but doing a definite RMC kind of signature element at this point of doing that Top Gun stall.
yeah.
That's a perfect place for it. I like that there's a double down leading into it.
Mm-hmm.
Very nicely done. So, but yeah, one of the fun things, and then this is the element that everybody liked, that overbent curve rolling into that corkscrew thing flying by. Very nicely done. Uh, Long time looking at so many coaster designs for thousands and thousands of them over the years. It's really what I found is the change of direction, the constant changing of accelerations is what make it fun. If you're doing the same kind of thing, like a long helix of the same positive G's, it's less interesting than constantly changing and switching things up element after element and keeping people kind of off guard and taking it by surprise. So it's certainly better to keep changing direction, moving different directions all the time. All right, that takes care of fifth place of Beastie. Well done. Let's go ahead and move on to fourth place, where we have the winner of fourth place is Beastier by Christian G. Congratulations. And look at that amazing truss built to hold up the Norwegian loop
Ah,
there.
that looks so cool. That'd be so hard for us to design, but it looks so cool.
And this guy did it in
Yeah,
five
that was
hours.
a
What's
standout.
holding you guys back?
I know. Trusses are a lot. You see on Air Force, we have a lot of trusses, and they're designed and stuff. But it was interesting because we'd only ever done the lift hill, So designing new trusses where the track isn't just completely straight or completely upside down has been a bit of a challenge.
I can
But
imagine as things have to kind of twist around. There's all sorts
yeah,
of dynamic forces at play in strange
yeah, our
ways.
SolidWorks team is really, really good though, so they handle it. It's awesome.
Excellent. Well, while waiting for this
So
to
some
load, just a cute detail I just noticed about this time. I like that that Christian reversed the Son of Beast colors, changing it instead of red at the beginning and end and yellow in the middle to yellow at the beginning and end and red in the middle.
Oh, I didn't notice. That is good. What the heck?
All right, taking our
Look at the
POV ride
comments we
here.
did for this one.
Nice slow JoJo roll out of the station.
Yeah, I don't think we've done one of those yet. We keep getting asked. Probably gonna happen eventually.
Yeah, imagine on the way to a lift hill somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and speed up these lift hills. Son of Beast was a truly massive, monstrous ride.
Oh, everyone liked this too. This little wave turn type deal right before the actual drop. It's a fun little element to have.
And then nice, big, massive, almost vertical drop there. I think this one kind of felt more traditionally following Son of Beast's profile pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. The one thing that people commented on was how close together those two track pieces are right there. I know because the ride originally right had that rose gold double helix thing,
Hmm.
but we would just have a really hard time supporting those positives with that track right there. So that was something a couple different guys commented on, as we wouldn't be sure how to handle that.
Yeah, I remember that section and looking very closely with the clearance envelope to see if it got too close in there. It did not, but it looked pretty close. But yeah, I see your point about holding up the forces of the train zipping through that area. But that truss, I mean, doing that along with everything else in 5 hours is just insane.
Yeah, nicely done. Classic structure, RMC style. One of the guys said, "We want more airtime." We know what we do, I guess. That's funny. Honoring the loop. Everyone loved the pretzel, of course. That was, I think, one of my favorite ways anyone interpreted the loop.
It was a nice way to do it. Um, yeah, nice use of the structure. And again, we'll just go and admire that truss a little bit more. This is a lot of work to do, and the very compressed time frame to leave enough time to make this happen. I don't. Does this look somewhat viable? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have the two legs in the middle right there done that way. We'd probably batter things down and make it a little less rigid looking. But
Hmm.
especially like in playing with the track, the way that's done is very, very, very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of armchair engineering that our fans like to do and argue as to what would and would not work, and then sometimes people come up with very unique things like this that they put together, and sometimes
That's pretty close.
yeah, it's good to see that people can what they think will work actually sometimes gets close to working.
Yeah.
So very nicely done. That is Beast Year. And yeah, this was the area that we were talking about earlier where it's very close, especially right here. Um, the clearance is very low there, and I could see when you have the amount of force going on, making sure that there's enough bracing for that. Um,
Yeah, we just snapped those legs. Those poor legs wouldn't be able to hold on the inside.
hmm. Yeah, it would. I can imagine, but still, it
Awesome.
was good to see what people were coming up with, and a lot of fun. So very cool. Um, I see in the comments somebody saying, hey, maybe he pre-built the truss design. To that person, the way that 5 hours of power works is that nobody has any idea what they're going to be building until it's revealed about half an hour before the contest starts. So there's no way to anticipate or prepare for what you're going to have put together. So unless you imported it from yet another coaster outside, which is not really what in the spirit of it, that being said, if you knew what you were doing with the supports and you had your plan in place, it's pretty easy to put this together. You just have
Yeah.
to not spend forever trying to perfect your layout and then only have 1 hour left to build your supports. which not to say that hasn't happened, but it has happened. A couple entries were sent in without supports.
Really?
Yeah, some of the ones
I think
that
all of ours had them.
there was one I remember you guys were commenting, and correctly so, that the supports, they were single wide, they didn't have any width to the batter, and of course you crashed
Oh
through it.
yeah.
That was one where, for the purposes of you guys judging it, I went ahead and just hit generate on the supports however they were configured and gave it to you as it was, and that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's what I caution everybody, is that the biggest thing with 5 hours of power is that, along with trying to build a coaster, it is really a time management challenge, and that you can't spend 5 hours building the layout. You got to spend about 2 hours designing your layout and be decisive about what you're going to do, because you need to be able to have plenty of time to do all the little support tweaks you need to do and test it to make sure it works. Some people don't test it and they run into with weird errors like lap bars left up the entire time. All right.
That one was funny.
Yeah, and that was a I don't even know why we would have that, but I guess he was thinking he was going to do a separate unload and load station, set up the unload
Mm,
station, forgot to add a load station, then of course just opens the lap bars and dispatches the train. So now that's some airtime.
something like that, yeah.
Third place going to Jack Cooler Jake, nephew of Beast. Congratulations to Jake
Beast.
as it loads. Good job. I know he was very worried about how he was going to do and chatted with me quite a bit, but turns out he did quite well.
This one looks
Well,
really, really good.
while we're waiting for it to
I think
load, I
this one
see
was
it.
my personal
Oh, go ahead.
favorite. I just love the double truss. Like that double truss element right here is just so well done. I'm not over it.
That's very cool. While we're waiting for it to load, we did have a question in the chat go by saying, "Do you think you'll ever build in Canada or work in Canada?"
I certainly, we certainly would. There's challenges with every country. Whenever we're doing something that's not local, every country has their own incentives just to keep products, in their borders. But we would certainly be open to it. And there's been discussions before, and I'm sure there will be again.
Plus, a lot of it's going to boil down to, is there a park in Canada that wants an RMC?
Exactly. Yeah. I like to think of it. It comes to a matter of when, not if. At least that's what I tell myself.
All right, we'll go ahead and speed up the lift hill here. So far, we haven't had a launched coaster in the top 5, and I don't recall if we do or not. I think we do.
This is such a crazy drop here.
I like that there's kind of a subtle double down into that too, which is a nice touch.
Uh huh. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else everyone said here for this one. Layout is about as RMC I could get. Another. Oh yeah. Some of us noticed how close it gets to the helix.
Hmm.
Needs some steel frames in several sections. Oh yeah, the double barrel roll is awesome.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's the second half through that truss in the middle where the
Yeah,
loop was.
I think every single person talked about the double barrel roll. Like
It
every
is.
single one of us.
Yep, it's an
I don't
impressive
know why we
element.
haven't done one of those.
It's a matter of if, when, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll have to talk to some of our guys about that because Joe Draves is helping us with our layouts right now, so
Very, very
might have
cool.
to throw something that way and be like, hey.
What about this? Lots of bunny hops and nice speed turns at the end. Doing good job maintaining the speed and still maneuvering quickly. Then we have a undulating upward, but it makes it into the break one. Good speed.
What do we call those? Trick track double ups? Is that what that is? Storm Chaser? Where it goes one way and then the other way?
I'm not sure. Do you guys have fun trying to invent inversion and element names?
Yeah, people ask that, and now that I'm there, I ask those questions, and it's kind of just like, whatever we think it should be named, that's what we name it. Sometimes we're just making words together, like, oh, that sounds fun, like I guess yes, but also it's not a science. We're just like, oh, let's call it this, and then we kind of vote. We're like, yeah, let's call it that, and then we just move
It could be word soup.
on.
Uh,
Yeah, it's
or
funny.
it'd be fun. Just like I got imagine just this may not be real at all, but I can just picture the fridge in the break room at RMC, and it's just got one of those poetry kits, and it's all coaster name elements that you're just scattering them together until it's like, oh, okay, I'll use that.
I don't know if it's much far off from that, honestly.
Nice. So yeah,
Awesome roll.
yeah, the double truss roll, that would be a lot of fun, especially the way he built it inside of the truss. If you can
Mm-hmm.
leave enough room for that, the visual of having all those beams
It's really,
fly by close to your head would be really amazing.
it's really exceptional. Yeah.
And there we go through the top half of that, which was what I was hoping for before we parted ways on this coaster. But very, very cool. A lot of fun stuff. Certainly shaved a lot of the structure down at the beginning of the ride, which kind of opens it up too visually. I'm a photographer for people who don't know that, and being able to see more of the ride that's not being protected by this giant wall of wood is certainly appealing to be able to take pictures of it. Although it looks like he did deviate from the ride path quite a bit at the end here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be difficult. We try to avoid new foundations wherever we can, just because it adds a lot of cost to it, and sometimes it's hard to capture that when we're doing our plans.
Yeah, which makes sense. And that's one of the cool things. There's an element of just being able to reuse and not really recycle, but reuse as much of the original ride as possible, minimize the amount of new wood materials needed, which is a really cool way to do it so that it really does keep. And this is one of the challenges of this ride. Like, how do you keep the soul and the spirit of the original ride intact while turning it into a new modern steel beast?
Mm-hmm.
So beyond
This was
just
really
using
well
the
done.
as much of the wood as possible and the following the track path, but how do you again make it still feel like the original ride? So very good.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations, Jake. We'll move on now to second place. It's getting intense. Let's see what happens. Second place also has the honor of getting the highest score for supports in the overall competition. Second place goes to Mother of Beast by Dough Coaster, who won last year and has won a couple of these, but that means this year we will have a new champion. So let's go ahead and take a look at
Yay!
second place.
Oh
And the
yeah, this is the one
Mother
with
Beast.
that roll right there at the top.
Yes, this is
We were
when,
losing our minds over the over the roll right there at the top of the lift.
especially building a structure or a truss in between to so that it's completely out in the open like that. This visually looks
Yeah,
great.
yeah. It's stunning. Like some of this stuff is like almost better than what we can come up with. It's amazing.
Nice. Well, there have been some people that some of the our No Limits fans that have gone to engineering and gone on to get engineering degrees and are actually working in the industry now. We know of a few here and there at various coaster companies. So all you kids out there that are playing like that, this can turn into a profession. You do need an engineering degree, but this can lead to
Yeah,
something.
it's so cool. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see. I'm ready. I'm all excited.
Crawling out of the station. Forgot to turn the tires on. Let's move that along. Okay.
Okay, let's see. Everybody loves the transitions.
Get an upward launch before. Yeah, you have a pre-launch before the main launch.
Oh yeah. Oh, this one's so fun.
And that high roll like that high up without the structure underneath you, it's a brilliant choice to do it that way.
And then that overbank with another roll, it's crazy. I think this is the one. Yeah, so our biggest gripe, I think, across the board was that mid course is just a little too soon. Feels like it takes the umph away. Like you're so shocked, and then it wants to exist and flow a little longer before cutting that down on the speed.
Yeah. Or at the very least, let the train run through without slowing it down.
Yeah, like as a just operating as a block section.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Which.
then that right there, a lot of people commented on too. That crazy outward bank in that structure.
Mm-hmm. And then keeping the original vertical loop in place, which is fun to say original because of course it was removed, but bringing back the old vertical loop.
One of the comments was, "Unfortunately, I don't think a park would pay to have this built." It's so funny. Unfortunately, not. Some of these are so awesome that it's like they just get expensive.
Yeah.
Smooth element pacing, well done. First inversion, very cool. Mid course, too premature. Great job. Yeah, everyone just really liked this. But yeah, really the only thing we had to say on it was just that mid course.
Yeah, that does kind of catch you by surprise so early and eating up a lot of the speed too that didn't really need to. And with a launch coaster, I know you have to, for the sake of spacing, so you can launch another coaster sooner rather than later, you do need a block somewhere in there sooner. But
Yeah,
they probably could have gone around the Rose Bowl once and then hit your mid course and still have enough time to
really
load it.
stunning though.
I do like the roll leading up into it though. I just don't see a reason
Yeah.
why you needed to. Well, I guess they wanted to slow down because of the near vertical drop.
It's cool because like a lot of these have their own personalities. Like some of them like, oh, this kind of reminds me of Gwazi, or this reminds me of Vengeance or Storm Chaser. But then this is one of the ones that no one really had anything to kind of comment on, that it was like the spirit of. Like it really truly just kind of feels like its own crazy ride. There's nothing else that comes to mind, which is I guess the point.
That's cool. One of the things I was most curious about to see how people would interpret to them what an RMC coaster is and what are the elements, what is the feel of it. To a lot of people, that was lots of rolls and twisting really fast, and I think faster than the trains can actually twist in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
because it feels that way. When you ride them, it feels like you're just being flung side to side. So they try to recreate
Mm-hmm.
that on their computer screens and end up going a little more aggressive than reality. Um, but then when you get to, some coasters would take inspiration from certain specific other coasters, and it's cool that this one is its own beast. And let's go take a look at that way up there.
It's so fun.
That would be visually amazing too, after having all that structure underneath you, and then this high in the air. Your first look at how high you are in the air is when you're looking down from this
Oh
spot.
my word!
That would be a really, really
It's
cool
right after
element.
the pre-lift, isn't it?
It's yeah, we've got you got the pre-lift. Yeah, you got the
Or no,
pre-lift,
it's not.
and it's the main
Oh
lift.
yeah, it is the pre-lift. Yeah, it just comes right out, and then we're just right over it. That's awesome.
It's a really cool way to do that. And then people get very
And-
creative with how they're going to support some of these inversions.
yeah.
Very cool work. All right, well, congratulations to Doe Coaster. At least, if I remember correctly, a two-time champion of the 5 hours of power, but this year, second place, so close, and the best support structure. They felt all the supports were the most realistic of all of them. So congratulations there. So now there's only one thing left to do. It's time to
Yay!
reveal the
Excited.
winner. And first place in 2022's 5 Hours of Power 8 goes to Revenge of Beast by Helix, or He3lix, depending on how you want to pronounce that three in the middle.
This thing is awesome. Shoot.
This one did not win
Really
any of the
cool.
individual scoring categories. It was, as typically tends to happen in our 5 Hours of Power, it was just a well-rounded, well-put-together coaster that hit all the right notes without being the best at any of them. It just was really good at all of them.
Yeah, we were crazy. Lots of insane looking elements. Some are the best in the whole contest, is one of the comments. One of them said very good, maybe a different color scheme, which didn't really matter for the ride. Just the right amount of width and aggressiveness, great build up, lift and crest over the top would leave anyone extremely nervous. Might bruise a thigh or two.
It's not a bad thing, right?
Sustained outer bank prior to the lift might be a little uncomfortable, and then here's my favorite one: perfect all across sequence of elements, beautiful airtime moments and inversions, immaculate pacing, aggressive, and no room to breathe. Exactly what we look for in roller coasters, which is
Nice.
mostly true.
Very nice. There were a couple of your judges, by the way, that two judges picked each picked their favorite coaster and decided to give it all 20s instead of all 10s,
Yep.
which I noticed, like, why is the math adding up to more than 10? That
80.
doesn't make sense. And like, oh, okay. I had to look at the individual scorecards and realize that two coasters by individual judges were given 20s across the board instead of 10s. I did have to change them back to 10s just so that the
That's
score
fine. Yeah,
averages
that's
didn't
good.
go crazy, but
Yeah,
they were
that
still
was
the top
Jason
two.
and Will. They really liked them. And they were different rides too. I think this one got
Yep.
the 20s, and then I think Mother of Beast also got the 20s.
Yep. But each of those both got 20s from one of the judges. So uh,
So funny.
very well done. Very well done work. And the difference between these two, Revenge of Beast had a 33.4, Mother of Beast had a 33.0, and Nephew of Beast in third had a 32.9. So a very tight
Oh
spread
wow.
between the top three there.
They're just so good. I don't know. Every single entry was just so creative. Even if they weren't the best, across the board, everything was still really well done.
Yeah,
It's
lots of
just
cool
so
things.
fun to see what people come up with, how they interpret what we do, and we're really fortunate to have people that enjoy what we do.
Hey, we
Look
really
at
enjoy what you do. You guys have
that.
created this whole new kind of coaster and coaster concept, and brought a lot of really cool, unique ideas to the industry that now other companies are starting to kind of take a look at and borrow some ideas from. But just
Mhm.
all the innovations there, including the Raptor trains that just single across and the elements there, and being able to really keep the action moving and constantly keep changing directions in weird, wacky ways. Like outward bank hills, airtime hills at the top, all kinds of crazy stuff like that that no one had ever seen. Because before people are like, you can't do that, and your guys like, hold my beer, watch me, and
Yeah,
here we are.
and a lot of that I think comes from Alan. He's an exceptional engineer, and he's just a very brilliant man and makes a lot of really cool ideas. And that's where his physics are pretty unique. And so we're very fortunate to keep the spirit of those rides and design philosophies.
Absolutely, and that's
Look at that.
this was a great spot down here that where I took the screen for this one. A great way to reveal a little bit more of it. What was cool about this one, and I noticed a theme in the comments, a lot of people said that it kept the energy really well, and also it didn't go on too long. It ended up ending the coaster a little bit sooner than some other people did without following as much of the layout. So still following the main path, only once around the Rose Bowl at the end here. And a cool element right here. Downward roll drop, the outward bank turn, really cool stuff. Then coming up into the block break. And going through at full speed, as you should, no trimming allowed. Outward bank and then to a nice stall that's well put together and supported in there. And then what was really surprising here, didn't do this extra helix. Just keeping the speed going, keeping the airtime going. And then at this point, just makes a left turn into the brakes and done, leaving everybody breathless and wanting to ride again without going through that extra final section. So really took a lot out of the ride and focused on just making sure everything had lots of energy, flying through the ride, and ultimately a good time, which worked out really well. So
This one
congratulations.
definitely feels like the most real one. If a park came to us and we're like, here's our budget, here's what we can do, I think this is probably as close to what we would come up with as possible. It's not overdoing it. It's reusing every foundation. It keeps pacing really well, and it just across the board, winner.
Very well done indeed. So congratulations to Revenge of the Beast, and it can now take its rightful place in the full 5 hours of Power Park, as everyone does. And I'll go ahead and load that up for now because I do have one extra little surprise about it, which you can see in the preview screen for it. To honor in the traditional RMC fashion, I took out the Son of Beast, except I left in all the footers that were not used in the
There you go.
and they transition to being Revenge of Beast. So they will be also part of 5 hours of Power Park in the future, permanently ensconced in the park. So congratulations, Revenge of Beast. We do have prizes. RMC has been so kind and generous to not only participate in this, but they'll also be supplying prizes to our top five. So, congratulations. I will be emailing everybody in that top five group to get contact information, and we're going to work out the details exactly how that's going to function. But we will get you some prizes to celebrate your win. So, congratulations, everybody. Thank you for participating in these year after year. These contests exist because you guys are so passionate about roller coasters and about NoLimits too, and pushing what you can do. The challenges vary every year. It's fun to dream up a new way to torture you guys for 5 hours, and some are harder than others, and some are not as bad. But no matter what, everybody's like, "What? That's not even possible!" And then by the end of it, they look at what's created, and it's just insane to see what you guys can come up with. So every year, it's a challenge to come up with yet another new way of making you guys sweat for 5 hours and suffer and enjoy the overall challenge. Look for 5 hours of Power 9 next year. It'll be a different thing entirely. It's not going to be making an RMC version of something because we're not going to repeat the same challenge year after year. Uh, but congratulations. Somebody in the chat had a good joke. Since the winning coaster Revenge of Beast saved some money there. Budget Beast.
it it really it's expensive to remove those footings. I will say, that's so much extra cost, and if they're not hurting anything, it's kind of fun to just leave them there.
Yep. And I totally get it. I remember long after Six Flags Magic Mountain stopped using their monorail, the monorail tracks
Mhm.
stayed there for a long time, and it's only slowly been coming
Yeah,
down as work has been done in the areas that it needed to be done in.
it's so expensive. When you're building a new attraction like this, adding, additionally just taking something completely cosmetic that has nothing to do with the ride experience, like all that demo and then backfill, and you have to figure out where to put it and shipping all that concrete. It's just easier to leave it there. It's already like the other thing is if we disturb the land, we have to include that in our permit sets. So
Mm,
it's easier because the watershed and all that stuff doesn't get impacted.
yep. So there it is. It's finally loaded. It's going to get longer and longer to load since we have so many massive coasters in here. There are all the supports. I left the loop support, the main kind of diagonal loop
I'm
supports in place
screaming.
too. And then the extra Rose Bowl supports are there too. So, which was
That's
quite a
so
lot of
awesome.
work to go through and delete most of the all of the structure except for that section of supports and the to keep just the footers behind in the same shape as the original. But there you go. 5 hours of power. Revenge of Beast taking its rightful position next to all of the other amazing creations that have been featured over the years that have won. And we will continue to add new coasters to this park as we go. I'll upload the new park so that everybody can take a look at the new version of it. For all the winners, I'll send you guys the winning graphics for your coasters too so that you can have those handy. Otherwise, thank you again, everybody, for participating and having fun with 5 hours of power. Thank you, Bailey, and everybody at RMC. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a lot of fun having you guys participate and getting your
Of
input.
course. Yeah, thanks so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's
Also, I will be
awesome,
sharing out the
awesome.
score sheet. I'll get you guys read access to that one. It'll go on the. I'll post it everywhere so people can go through. All of the results are there. There are comments from 6 people at RMC rated every one of the coasters. 5 people wrote comments on all of the coasters. One person gave one comment to one coaster. Otherwise, we did have comments, lots of good, valuable feedback. So everybody got feedback from 5 people at RMC on their creations, no matter how they scored, and everybody did get a score this year. So feel free, you'll look through that. I'm sure everybody's going to pour of it to see what was said. But again, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We certainly appreciate the passion and enthusiasm you show for No Limits and for RMC coasters and everything. And we will see you again next year with an all new challenge for 5 hours of Power 9. Until then, take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you again soon. And we're out.